Being a good communicator isn't a personality trait, and it isn't just speaking clearly, being personable, or using proper grammar. It is definitely all of these things, but primarily communication is about understanding. It is a complex subject, and words, talks, and speeches are just one aspect of a multifaceted discipline. This course highlights convenient tips to use next time you jot down an email, write an executive summary, or make a presentation. By no means are any of these tips the new thing, the only way possible, or the ultimate truth on the topic. However, they work, and if you follow them meticulously, you'll start with the right foot. Talks depend crucially on words. They tell your story, explain complex issues in a way everybody understands, and build inspiring ideas to act upon. Talks express courage, steer opinions, and turn rivals into followers. In every age, under every sky, men have always admired courage. Next time you are having a presentation, stride forth bravely, look at your audience straight in the eyes, and begin to talk as confidently as if every one of them owed you an apology. Your goals are fostering common understanding and preventing misinterpretation, and your words are the tools to achieve just that. Concrete terms are easier to agree on and serve to clarify and simplify your writing and to convey your message as you mean it without distortions. To be effective, choose words that can be easily referenced and understood. Your end game is to make your audience listen. How? You need to know who they are and what they want to know. And remember, it is never about you talking. It is always about what your audience needs to hear. We can identify our listeners in three broad categories. Subject matter experts, or SMEs, are the ones with technical knowledge and experience. They designed the product, wrote the software, or operate it, and they are the authority on it. Management is responsible for the organization and has to decide whether to buy, retire, or implement new strategies. They are not interested in deep technical discussions, like the experts are. Customers usually have less knowledge than the experts and often need their support. Each of these audiences expects different kinds of information and delivery. Experts don't want background information because they know the subject inside out. Explain the issue right away and ask what you need to know. Management often just wants to know the bottom line. They are not interested in brainstorming, but rather in the implications of a certain decision. Customers don't want a barrage of technical data, but answers that are easy to use and understand for snappy solutions. Now that we know who we have in front of us, we want them interested. How? Let's reply to these three questions. Why should they listen? It is a good assumption to think that our audience has no reason to listen to us. Let's give them one. Write down a concise purpose statement to hook them right at the beginning. For example, in a presentation in front of private institution associates, you might say, "Private institutions contributed to hunger reduction. If more institutions participate today, more people will survive hunger tomorrow." The objective is to figure out what your listeners need to hear and tell them. Someone may ask, what if there is no real benefit? In this case, tell your audience the cost of not listening. Suppose the topic, like new regulations, seems uninteresting to a group that could care less. Maybe there's no real benefit in knowing these regulations, but there's certainly a cost of not knowing. Now look at them and say with a smile, if you listen today, you'll either get something good or avoid something bad. Then open your presentation with a picture, a prison, and say, our purpose today is to avoid going there. Either way, your job is always the same. Make them care more. What am I telling them? The straightforward answer is one thing, just one. The one thing of today's presentation is communication basics. It is not about written communication using PowerPoint or writing and delivering a killer speech. It is just communication basics. I can cover the other two if you wish, but with 2 additional presentations, 1 per topic. Moving along to the third question, what should your listeners do with this information? Tell your listeners what you want from them. If your target is to drive a certain action, specify it. For example, you could say, sign off on this campaign today and exterminate hunger. Business and technical writing is about communicating key information. How should this information be delivered? Break it down into 3 parts: situation, actions, and results. This way, the reader or the listener receives organized information that they can understand as quickly as possible and retain. This method creates a breadcrumb trail for the audience to follow. On the contrary, disorganized information makes the listeners wade through lots of confusing details they don't need, while readers struggle to find key information, which is often misunderstood or not read. Let me show you a real work example from a real work event, simplified and free from jargon for everybody's benefit. The situation triggered these actions. The result of these actions is, as you have noticed, this text has little to no formatting. I've seen emails with combinations of colours and font sizes to draw attention to certain information. This practice is highly discouraged. It worsens readability and transforms a professional document into a coloured book. Avoid capitalisation too, unless it's for acronyms. When writing, refrain from using excessive formatting. Here we are. Joy for some, pain for all the others. Imagine this scenario. An airplane is about to land and the captain announces, "We have attempted to land, but we couldn't because of fog." Then he adds, "Several other planes struggled to land before us. Let's hope for the best." How would you feel after such an announcement? That, "let's see how that goes," gives passengers more questions than answers. A few minutes later, the answer, a safe landing. Details are important. They constitute disclosure. With disclosure or self-disclosure, we build trust with our audience. However, we don't want to disclose too much, like the captain in our example. Unlimited disclosure does not necessarily lead to more trust. The question is, how much should you reveal? The answer is, it depends on the situation. If you are a cadet pilot in a class, rather than a passenger on an airplane, knowing that even experienced pilots have doubts can be a learning opportunity on how to handle fears in crucial moments. In other words, it is good for a cadet pilot to hear, but not for a passenger in mid-air. Everyone at work has doubts, struggles, and insecurities, pilots too. However, no passenger wants to be on an airplane when pilots voice their insecurities. Rule of thumb, ask yourself 2 questions before indulging in more details. 1. What does your audience gain after you share that information? 2. How likely are you to make them want to jump off the plane after you said that? In all other situations, let's not exceed 30 seconds of talking. Provide the headline and save the details for when you're asked. Use simple words, not a lot, and wrap it up. Written words are unforgiving. We judge what is written as a benchmark of what we will get. Let's read this statement by a salesperson. At first, the sentence does not sound right. 1. The expression you are demanded is not correct English. There is indeed an expression such as to demand payment, but it has a very strong connotation and denotes a final notice before pursuing legal actions. A better alternative is, please send payment within 30 days, or you are requested to pay within 30 days. Let's go to the next. 2. You should benefit us. This construction does not exist in standard English, nor does information's. There is no letter S at the end, no matter how much information is given. A piece of information or a bit of information conveys the singular meaning. Also, the word benefit should always be directed at the customer. In the last sentence, the writer has confused the word principal with its homonym, same sound, different word. Meanwhile, supplementation is confusing. Does he want to ask for more details? Here is how the same sentence sounds after the corrections. Although grammatically correct, the sentence still does not sound right. It introduces a harsh and accusatory tone. Far from facing the customer for legal actions, we want to make every communication a positive experience for the customer's benefit. This is how the same sentence sounds after reviewing the tone. Now about the use of passive voice. Passive voice is an easy solution, but it is a high-cost trap. Passive voice makes sentences weak, wordy, and weighty. In one word, worse. Conversely, active voice is punchy. Let's watch these 3 examples. The big red button should be pushed by the user. It is not clear who the subject of the sentence is. By the way, who is this mysterious user? It's more effective to say, push the big red button. A decision was taken to take the matter further. A sentence like this one is totally confusing. Who took the decision? What happens next? We cannot conclude that from the context. We need more information. Third and last example, employees are not permitted to can be replaced by you must not, or by the even more effective don't. The difference isn't always so dramatic, but being effective is about getting the maximum effect from your words. Avoiding the passive voice helps with that. You can use the passive voice, but I recommend the active voice whenever it's more effective. Convoluted messages. Take a look at your writing in full-page view to prevent the following example from happening. I'll read it out loud. This paragraph, much like an overgrown forest path tangled with unnecessary branches and misleading turns, is designed to exhaust the reader's patience and challenge their comprehension. It meanders through ideas without clear direction, piling clause upon clause, each more dependent than the last, until you're left breathless and bewildered, wondering if the end is even in sight, or if there's any meaningful destination at all. You got the point. How to avoid this from happening. Rehearse, rehearse, and then rehearse. On average, use about 15 to 25 words per sentence, but if you write everything to a 25-word target, you will end up with something that feels weird and robotic. To keep your writing interesting, vary the length of your sentences. It doesn't mean you have to count words systematically, but rewrite the sentence shorter if it is evidently too long. Ask yourself what you can afford to leave out and cut some more, then cut a bit more. When communicating, treat words like money. Reach for the best possible deal. The less wordy you are, the better it is. Be it your audience's attention, asking for help, or persuading someone to act on the deal you want. If your ideas require too many words to explain, they are expensive. Expensive is the opposite of a good deal. Therefore, to be more impactful, more engaging, or tailored to your desired tone, aim to make your point clearly and concisely using fewer words. A quick note about acronyms. As a rule of thumb, don't use them unless they are widely known. That means easily understood by many. ASAP, FIFA, NASA, CIA, MBA, and IT are some well-known acronyms everybody understands and don't need to be specified. When in doubt, spell it out. Say the name in full. Jargon and acronyms can be tricky, even for people familiar with the topic. Imagine how frustrating it can be for those unfamiliar with your work. A good rule of thumb, if it requires an explanation, don't use it. In May 2010, Elon Musk at SpaceX addressed an email to the entire company about the use of acronyms. With the subject, "Acronyms seriously suck," he emphasized how the large, uncontrolled use of acronyms disrupts effective communication. You can read this email by clicking the link below in the comments. The email was published by Rafael Correa Gomes at medium.com. Any questions? Leave comments below, click on the thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel. More to come.